Samsaradava nalalita loka Taranaya karuna gana ganatam Praptasya kalana gunarnavasa Vande guroshi charanarabindam Mahaprabhu kirtana nitya gita Vaditra madhyam manasora sena Romanchakam pashutaranga bhajo Vande guroshi charanarabindam Shivikrahara dana nitya nana Shingara tamandira marjanado Yutasya bhaktam chaniyunjatopi Vande uroshi charanarabindam Chaturvidashi bhagavat prasada Sadhana tripta haribhakta sangham Kriteva triptim bhajata sadaiva Vande guroshi charanarabindam Shiradhika madhavayura para Madhurya lila gunarupa namnam Shiradhika madhavayura para Madhurya lila gunarupa namnam Patishanasa tanalolupasya Vande guroshi charanarabindam Nikunja yuno radikeli siddhai Jai hari pir yuktira peshaniya Tatrati dakshad adivallabhasya Vande guroshi charanarabindam Sashathari tvena samasta shastre Uktastatha bhavyateva sadhihi tu prabhoya priyeva tasya vande guru si charanarvindam Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado Yasya prasada nagati kutopi Jayanstuvam stasya yashasti santhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhuttare Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hariharaya Namah, Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopa Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudana, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Nila Madhava Radha Nila Madhava Shri Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Jaya Sudarshan Chakra Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Sita Ram Jaya Lakshman Hanuman Jaya Lakshmi Nara Singha Jaya Lakshmi Nara Singha Jaya Lakshmi Nara Singha Jaya Lakshmi Nara Singha Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Nitai Gaura Hari Bolo Hari Bolo Hari Bolo Nitai Gaura Hari Bolo Jai Om Shri Pada Brahmamsa Pradeka Acharya Ashtota Shata Shishima Divine Grace Aparachana Rinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya PPT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnu Pada Brahmamsa Pradeka Acharya Ashtota Shishima His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Rinda Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridasa Thakur Ki Jai प्रेमी से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद किले गोवर्धन की जय श्री प्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय श्री अयोध्या धाम की जय श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगा मई की जय यमुना मई की जय भक्ति देवी की जय तुलसी देवी की जय समावृत भक्तवृंद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namaste Narasimhaya Namaste Narasimhaya Namaste Narasimhaya Praladaladaine Praladaladaine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Shilatankanakalaye Ito Narsimha Parato Narsimha To Narsimha Parato Narsimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Narsimha Yato Yami Tato Narsimha Bahir Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho Narsimho Hridaye Narsimho Narasimha Madim Charanam Prapade Simhamadim Pramanam Prapade Tava Kara Kamalavari Nakam Adbhuta Shringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे हरे नाका अद्भुत श्रृंगा दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गा केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूपा जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव जय लक्ष्मी नरसिम्हा स्वामी की जय जय प्रहलाद महाराज की जय।
वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपाक्तिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपाक्तिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुपाक्तिपदे देवी सत्यवत्याय नमो नमः। वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्ण प्रेयसी नमो नमः। राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषे राधा कृष्ण सेवा पावो ये अभिलाषे रे तुम्हारा शरण लो तेरा वांछ पूर्ण होय। तुम्हारा शरण लो तेरा वांछ पूर्ण होय। कृपा कोरे कोरो तारे वृंदावन वासी मोरा ये अभिलाष विलास कुंजे दियो वास। माया नेहरी बो सदा युगल रूपराशि এই নিবেদন ধরো সখিরানুগত করো সেবাধিকার দিয়ে করো নিজ দাসী। दीन कृष्ण दासे को ये नमो रहो श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमी सदा ये न भासी। श्री राधा गोविंद प्रेमी सदा ये न भासी। नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा प्रेयसी नमो नमः तुलसी कृष्णा। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे। यानि कानि च पापानि ब्रह्महत्यादिकानि च तानि तानि प्रणश्यन्ति प्रदक्षिणं पदे पदे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani. Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Nittai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Nittai Gaura Hari Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय. वृंदाय तुलसीदेवाय प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः. वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्यै प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः. वृंदायै तुलसीदेवी प्रियाय केशवस्य च विष्णुभक्ति प्रतिदेवी सत्यवत्यै नमो नमः. प्रियाय केशवस्य च देवी सत्यवती. श्रीमती वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय.
Please give me the preach devotional service and make my own maid servant. This very fallen lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always swim the love, Shri Radha and Govinda. Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai. There are 10 fences in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees who dedicate their lives for the propagation of holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider the name of the demigods of Lord Shiva or Brahma to be equal to the independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Veda literature or literature pursuing the Vedic version. 5. To consider the glory of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting the holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspicious ritual activities, often Veda, the fruity activities, Karma, Ganda. 9. To instruct a faithless person about the glorious holy name. 10. To not complete faith in the chanting holy names and to maintain material attachments in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to quickly achieve desired success. Krishna Prema. Now let us offer most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are deities who can fulfill to everyone. Therefore, compassion fallen from the soul.
Namo Namaha.
Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. Cheto Darpana Marjanam Bhava Mahatavakni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavatu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purunaramita Sadhanam Sarvatma Snapanam Paravijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatra Pita Niyamita Smaranina Kalaha Eta Deshi Tavarkripa Bhagavam Mamapi Durudevami Desham Iha Janina Nurakaha Trinatapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi Nathanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Jammani Jammanishvare Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Tvai Ayinanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Pavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stita Duri Satesham Vichintaya Nayanam Kaladashuru Daraya Vatanam Katkada Rudaya Gira Pulaka Nichitam Vapur Kada Tava Nama Kahane Bhavishati Yuga Itam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravisha Itam Shunya Itam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Ashilishava Padaratam Pinnashtumam Adarsanam Marm Hatam Karotuva Yatha Tatha Va Vidathatu Lampato Mat Prananatastu Saeva Na Paraha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai. So Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years, and to fire of conditional life for repeated birth and death. This Sankirtana is the prime benediction of humanity at large, because it spreads the rays and benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which always anxious. Oh, my Lord, your holy name alone grant all benediction of human beings. Thus you have hundreds of millions of names of Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names have vested all transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, all the kindness enables us to easily approach you by holy names, but I am so unfortunate to have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than a straw in the street. One should be more taller than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Mahajananda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow I fall into the ocean, birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me at one of the atoms at lotus feet. Oh my Lord, when my eyes be decorated, tears of love flowing constantly when I chant the holy name. When my voice choke up, when hair my body stand and recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling of separation comes a moment to be like great millennium. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so if you handle me so roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything. For he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Shastakam
Ki Jai. Vishnu Pillai Krishna. Shri Guru Pranama prayers.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshum Litam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurung Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Shakham Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachata Desha Tarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripaptaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhavin Namaha Madhuryo Chala Premadya Shri Rupa Nuka Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupa Nuka Virudapa Siddhanta Dvanta Harine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipalambara Sambodhe Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumistvam Nirdishta Sajanapriya Vaishnava Sava Bhama Shri Jaganathaya Te Namaha Vancha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakham Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karna Sindho Dinapanto Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surator Pangor Mamamanda Matergati Masarvasva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kaupajumadaha Shimadra Nagara Singhasanasto Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Pishtaripi Sevamano Smarami Shriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastita Karsham Venu Sanergo Pir Gopinatha Shiyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanusate Devi Panamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shateta Tatara Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradya Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Prakara Satmasuka Praviksha Lakshariteshu Surabhira Pipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasam Brahmasevyamanam Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kavanantam Aravinda Dalayataksam Parhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kantarpakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandakala Savanamadevam Shri Ranam Kadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Tripanga Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angan Yasya Sakalindriya Vrittimanti Pashanti Panti Kalayanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chimma Satujala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achotam Anadi Mananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durabam Adurabam Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Shatavasara Sampragamyo Vayurathapi manaso munipangavaanam Sopyasti yat prapada simya vichintatat ve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ekopya sora chaitum jagatanta kotim Yachakti rasti jagatanta chayayadanta Antantarastha paramanu chayantarastham govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Yad bhava pavitadiyo manuchastateva Samprapya rupa mahimasanayana pusha Suktayam eva nikama patithaistu vanti govindamadi purusham Tamaham bhajami Ananda chimma rasa patibhavitapi Starpiya eva nijarupataya kalapi Goloka eva nivasakti kalatma bhuto Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena Santa sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti Yam shama surandam achintya guna swarupam Govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami Ramadi Murtishu Kalanyamena Tishtan Nanavataram Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Soyam Samabhavad Paramapumam Yo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami.
Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He is
No other origin, he is
and he is
the prime cause of all.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire. In abode filled with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers, beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with the flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shamsundar is eternally manifest. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. Okay, go ahead.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe, at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord whom I adore. I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suktas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities, in the company of her confident Sakhis, embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form, permeated and vitalized by his ever-blissful spiritual rasa. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamasundara, Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world in the forms of Rama, Nrisimha, Vamana, etc. as his subjective portions.
Holy Premanandi, Haribo, Haribo. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj Ki Jai, Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Janmadasya yata divyadi taratash charte suvigya swarat tene brahma hidaya dikavayate muyanti yat surayaha tejo varimadam yata vinimayo yatra trisargo misha damna svena sada nirasta kuhakam satyam param dhimahi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of material nature, appear factual although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2 Dharma Pujita Kaikravotra Nirmat Saranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Shivadam Tapotrayon Bulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kirte Kimva Parir Ishvaraha Sadyo Hridya Vurudyate Tra Kriti Behisusu Vistakshanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3 Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam sukamakad amritam dravyasam yatam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Mahur Aho Raska Bhuvibhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire to your Vedic literature. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami, therefore this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarine juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Srimad Bhagavatam, Grantaraj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Rama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gurvan Vicharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatyate Satarini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Srimad Bhagavad Gita Grantaraj Ki Jai. So today we are reading Canto 3, Chapter 9, verse number 26. Maitreya Uvacha Swasambhavam Nisamayaivam.
Swasambhavam Nisamyaivam.
Okay. Swasambhavam Nisamsayaivam.
Swasambhavam Nisamyaivam.
Tapo Vidya Samadhibihi.
tapo vidya samadbihi
yavan mano vacha strutva
yavan mano vacha stutva
virarama sakinavant.
virarama sakhinnavat.
Maitreya Vacha.
Maitreya Vacha.
The great sage Maitreya said,
Maitreya said,
Swasambhavam,
Swasambhava,
the source of his appearance,
the source of his appearance,
Nisamya,
Samya,
by seeing, Evam,
Evam,
thus, Tapa,
tapa,
penance,
Ve,
Vidya,
Vidya,
knowledge,
knowledge,
Samadhi bihi,
Samadhi,
as also by concentration of the mind,
as also by concentration of the mind,
Yavat,
yavat,
as far as possible,
as far as possible,
Mana,
mana,
mind,
mind,
Vacha,
Vacha,
words,
words,
Stutva,
Sutva,
having prayed,
having prayed,
Virara,
Viraram,
Virara,
became silent,
became
became
silent.
silent,
Sa,
Sa,
he,
he,
Brahma,
Brahma,
Kinava,
Kinava,
as if tired.
as if tired.
Translation by His, okay. Yeah. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, after observing the source of his appearance, namely the personality of Godhead, Brahma prayed for his mercy as far as his mind and words would permit him. Thus having prayed, he became silent as if tired from his activities of penance, knowledge, and mental concentration. Translation. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Brahma's enlightenment and knowledge was due to the Lord sitting within his heart. After being created, Brahma could not ascertain the source of his appearance, but after penance and mental concentration, he could see the source of his birth, and thus he became enlightened. Through his heart, the spiritual master outside and the spiritual master within are both representations of the Lord. Unless one has contact with such bona fide representations, one cannot claim to be a spiritual master. Lord Brahma had no opportunity to take the help of a spiritual master from outside, because at that time Brahma himself was the only creature in the universe. Therefore, on becoming satisfied by the prayers of Brahma, the Lord enlightened him about everything from within. The sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, after observing the source of his appearance, namely the personality of Godhead, Brahma prayed for his mercy as far as his mind and words would permit him. Thus, having prayed, he became silent as if tired from his activities of penance, knowledge, and mental concentration. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Now, this is very profound. We can see Brahma has his limits. We can see that when the Lord is pleased with his devotees' prayers and service, then he can reveal knowledge from within. And also reveal knowledge from without. So this within and without is explained in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 58th verse. Actually in the 57th verse also, where Krishna says first, Chaitasa sarvakarmani mai sanyas yamatpara buddhiyogam upasritya machita satatam bhava. In all activities, this is Krishna speaking to Arjuna, says, in all activities, just depend upon me and work always under my protection. In such devotional service, be fully conscious of me. So, let's read the purport. Who would like to read? Anybody? Okay, let him read.
This one, right? Purple.
You'll get a chance. You'll get a chance. Go ahead.
Brahma's enlightenment in knowledge was due to the Lord's.
No, 1857.
Oh, sorry, I just pressed it wrong. Okay. Huh? Oh, sorry, Bhagavad Gita.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yes. Sorry. When one acts in Krishna consciousness, he doesn't act as the master of the world. Just like a servant, one should act fully under the direction of Supreme Lord. A servant has no individual independence. He acts only on the order of the master. A servant acting on behalf of the Supreme Master is unaffected by profit and loss. He simply discharges his duty faithfully in terms of the order of the Lord. Now one may argue that Arjuna was acting under the personal direction of Krishna, but Krishna is not present. How?
No, but when?
In the direction of Krishna, but when Krishna is not present, how should one act? One should act according to the direction of Krishna in this book, as well as under the guidance of the representative of Krishna. Then the result will be the same. The Sanskrit word mat para is very important in this verse. It indicates that one has no goal in life save and except acting in Krishna consciousness just to satisfy Krishna. And while working in that way, one should think of Krishna only. I have been appointed to discharge this particular duty by Krishna. While acting in such a way, one naturally has to think of Krishna. This is perfect Krishna consciousness. One should, however, note that after doing something whimsically, he should not offer the result to the Supreme Lord. That sort of duty is not in the devotional service of Krishna consciousness. One should act according to the order of Krishna. This is a very important point. That order of Krishna comes through disciplic succession from the bona fide spiritual master. Therefore, the spiritual master's order should be taken as the prime duty of life. If one gets a bona fide spiritual master and acts according to the direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is...
And acts according to his direction.
Okay. Therefore,
And acts according to his direction.
yeah, and acts according to his direction, then one's perfection of life in Krishna consciousness is guaranteed.
So that's a very important purport. And the next verse, Machita Sarvadurgani, Mat Prasada Darishyasi, Adichetram Ahankaran, Nasosyasi Vinakshasi. So then you can read the verse. Read the verse. Go ahead. Read the verse.
If you become conscious of me, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost.
Very important verse. These two verses are very, very important. Because Krishna without him knowing exactly what you're doing. So, if we are acting under the false ego, a bodily concept of life, we're going to make so many mistakes in our life. Krishna will be conscious of every one of those mistakes. And as it says here, that if, however, you do not work in such consciousness but act through false ego, not hearing me meaning Krishna, you will be lost. So this is what happens to most people. They don't listen to Krishna, they don't listen to Guru, they don't listen to anybody. They just make up their own decisions, and they go deeper and deeper into anxiety, and nothing counts for them. They don't care what Guru says, they don't care what Krishna says. They just make decisions on their own, and they go deeper and deeper into the material, let's say, whirlpool, and they just make a mess of their life. So we should take these two verses very seriously. The kernel of truth is demonstrated in these two verses, if you want to be successful. So now you can start reading the purport. Go ahead.
A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence. The foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. For one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature free to act. He is already under strict material laws. But as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act, because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master.
See, now there is the highest wisdom that a disciple should have. How many disciples actually understand this? That's a big question. But here we see there is the spiritual master within and the spiritual master without. The spiritual master within is Krishna as Paramatma, or Chaitya Guru. And the spiritual master without is the scriptures, saints, and initiator Guru. Most people don't understand this. Even initiated devotees don't really understand this. Therefore, they become experts in ruining their life. You have to be an expert to ruin your life. You have to know what you should not do and what you should do, but what they learn is what they should not do, and they avoid what they should do. So we have to take instruction from within and without. So from within, Krishna as Chaitya Guru or as Paramatma is giving us some instruction, giving instructions. Don't do this. Don't put your fingers in your mouth, for example. Don't let him put his fingers in his mouth. So there are things that you should do, things you should not do. So here it says, no conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master. So therefore, there's a very interesting statement in the Bhagavad, in Prabhupada's letters, and he says, in the letter 1975, he's writing to these devotees, he says, if you are following regulative principles, why are you not cooperating? So whenever you see these type of devotees who say, oh Gurudev, oh Gurudev, oh Gurudev, but when Gurudev gives them an instruction, they don't follow it. That's because they're not following the regulative principles. So Gurudev can understand if they're following regulative principles or not. Because if they're not following the regulative principles, they won't cooperate. And then, in another letter, Prabhupada says, everything has to be judged by the motive. And so the motive, what is the motive of a person? If the motive is to make money, then definitely they're going to make many, many mistakes. That's not the real motive. The motive should be to please the Guru and saints and parampara, by following regulative principles strictly. That should be the motive. If the motive is to make money, then people are going to make all kinds of mistakes and make a big mess of their life, their relationships, their everything in your life. Then Prabhupada says the disciple should not do anything without asking the spiritual master. This is a letter in 1968. And then in another letter in 1972 he writes, criticizing and not doing any practical devotional service, that is the business of inferior persons. All they do is criticize, but they don't do any practical devotional service. So they are considered to be inferior people. And I bet you know people who just criticize all the time, but don't do any real practical devotional service. That means they are basically inferior people. So these are some quotes from Srila Prabhupada that are very interesting. But what's being said in verse 57 and 58, especially 58, is very important. In Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st Canto, 7th chapter, 1st Canto, 7th chapter, 5th verse, Prabhupada writes, within the super soul becomes spiritual master, and without he becomes spiritual master as scriptures, saints, and initiator spiritual master. So we have these two gurus, the internal guru and the external guru. The internal guru is the super soul, or Krishna, also known as Chaitya Guru. And the external guru is the scriptures, the saints, and initiator guru. And you can add in there also the Shiksha guru. Because the Shiksha guru, bona fide Shiksha guru, bona fide initiator guru, they will not differ. They'll have the same opinion on every point. Because they're both following Shastra. Okay, so then on the next verse, 1859, it says, Krishna speaking to Arjuna, if you do not act according to my direction and do not fight, then you will be falsely directed. By your nature, you will have to be engaged in warfare. And the purport, if someone can read the purport, Arjuna was a military man. Go ahead. Get the microphone.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Arjuna was a military man and born of the nature of the Kshatriya. Therefore, his natural duty was to fight. But due to false ego, he was fearing that by killing his teacher, grandfather and friends, he would incur sinful reactions. Actually, he was considering himself master of his actions, as if he were directing the good and bad results of such work. He forgot that the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present there, instructing him to fight. That is the forgetfulness of the conditioned soul. The Supreme Personality gives directions as to what is good and what is bad, and one simply has to act in Krishna consciousness to attain the perfection of life. No one can ascertain his destiny as the Supreme Lord can. Therefore, the best course is to take direction from the Supreme Lord and act. No one should.
The best course is to take
direction from the Supreme Lord and act.
That should be our motto in life. The best course is to take instruction from the Supreme Lord and act. Go ahead.
No one should neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or the order of the spiritual master, who is the representative of God. One should act unhesitatingly to execute the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That will keep one safe under all circumstances.
So if you understand these three verses, 57, 58, 59, you have basically the secret for success in your life. It takes time to understand and accept this, because we've lived many lifetimes ignoring this. So it's not going to happen overnight. Some people will take the high road and accept it right away. Most people will take the low road and not accept it right away and go through a long period of unnecessary suffering. And some people never understand. They go on birth after birth, just suffering all the time. So here you have three verses. You understand them. You have the secret of success in life. And you have a guaranteed going back to Godhead. So then Krishna also says, verse number 60, under illusion, you are now declining to act according to my direction, but compelled by the work born of your own nature. You will act all the same, O son of Kunti. And in the purport, Prabhupada says, if one refuses to act under the direction of the Supreme Lord, then he or she is compelled to act by the modes in which he or she is situated. Everyone is under the spell of a particular combination of modes of nature and is acting in that way. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself or herself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. So we should want to become glorious, is it not? We don't want to become infamous. We want to become glorious. And here's the secret. Anyone who voluntarily engages himself or herself under the direction of the Supreme Lord, and whenever you talk about the Supreme Lord, you're talking about his disciple also, who's Guru, Shiksha and Diksha Gurus. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. So these are the statements that we should keep hearing in our mind and meditating on. These should be our meditation, these statements. Right? And keeping them in our mind, repeating them every day, you easily go back to Godhead. And you avoid myriad miseries. Myriad means, thousands and thousands of miseries in life by simply following this direct instruction given by Krishna here and Prabhupada. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself or herself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. So you have idiots to go around who meditate, no God, no master. That's their mantra. No God, no master. Look that up. No God, no master. They're meditating on that type of nonsense statement. And they chant it. What's it say?
There is also a movie with that.
There's a movie also. That's all you need, a movie that says that.
That's the one that's coming all the way at the top. So basically it's anarchism. No gods, no
What?
masters.
It's a what?
Anarchism. Anarchy.
I'm trying to think how to pronounce that word. Anathematism means it's something absolutely forbidden. Okay. So what does it say?
So the phrase is, it's coming from some popular culture encyclopedia of arts and popular culture. No gods, no masters is an anarchist and labor.
Oh, anarchist.
Anarchist
means people who don't follow rules.
Yeah.
They propose anarchy, complete confusion, and no rules. Go ahead.
It's coming from that anarchist and labor slogan. Its English origin comes from a pamphlet handed out by the industrial workers of the world during the 1912 Lawrence textile strike. The phrase is derived from the French slogan, I don't know how to pronounce that, but literally neither God nor master. That's the meaning of that.
What?
It's a French slogan.
A French slogan?
Yeah, called ni Dieu ni maître, something like that. Ni maître.
No. Ni Dieu ni maître.
No.
Ni Dieu ni maître.
Ni Dieu ni
Neither
maître.
God.
Neither God
and
nor
no master.
Yes.
Master meaning, like a boss or something, right? Ni Dieu ni maître.
Ni Dieu ni maître.
So you see, you get the French involved and the British, then you end up with the most biggest nonsense. Because you got the two biggest nonsense people involved now.
Yeah, apparently this was coined by a socialist, Louis Auguste Blanqui, in 1880 when he published a journal by that name.
I didn't understand what you said. Okay, so that is a nonsense statement. Communion with God is to what? Non-hierarchy. In other words, you don't accept that there's guru or a hierarchy of authorities. Sannyasis, gurus, temple presidents, things like that. You reject that hierarchy. There's different levels of authorities. All right, and what else does it say? And what? What does that mean, collective freedom? Read it the whole thing one more time, slowly.
To commune with God is
Okay, to commune with God, that means to connect with God. Okay? To speak with God or to hear God's messages and things like that. Okay, go ahead.
To commune with God is to practice non-hierarchy and collective freedom.
No, it's not hierarchy. Non-hierarchy. Hierarchy means you reject all the different levels of authorities. In other words, they're saying, you don't need anybody to help you commune with God. You can do it on your own. Right? And you can do it in your own way. You don't have to follow anybody's process, like the Catholic Church or the Presbyterian Church or the Hare Krishnas or whatever. All right, read that again slowly. To commune. To commune with God. Read it.
It says it means no masters. Then it starts to commune with God is to practice non-hierarchy and collective freedom.
Non-hierarchical. Go ahead.
And collective freedom.
I'm not understanding collective freedom.
To commune with God is to practice non-hierarchy and collective freedom.
Okay, so...
Because it is saying it means no masters.
Yeah, exactly. So this type of individualism is really nonsense, because what happens? You're rejecting all authority, all spiritual authority. So do you think Lord Chaitanya would accept something like that? Do you think Prabhupada would accept that? The whole idea was to accept Prabhupada's authority as a bona fide spiritual master. And these idiot French and British so-called bunnias, they're rejecting all authority. And they say, look, you don't need anybody's authority. You can do it all on your own. That means that any speculation you have, that's good. So you see, these are dangerous thoughts. So this whole idea of no God, no master, which is their mantra, is the complete opposite of what we just read. And these things have been going on for a long time, at least 200-300 years in Europe. That's why Europe is in free fall as far as religious spirituality goes. And the same thing is going to happen here in the United States. It's already started. In the last 10 years, 11% of believers in God and religion have left the church. See, what do you expect? You have movies glorifying illicit sex, drugs, violence, guns, and all kinds of sinful activities. They glorify it, right? And then they're teaching in schools, glorifying, perversions, trying to make it okay to engage in perverse activities. And books, there's so many books that are written glorifying illicit activity. And then there's movies. So we can go down the list. I mean, people go to be entertained by seeing violent movies. How can that be entertaining? To see violent movies with people's heads getting blown up and fighting and gangsters, right? Things that you would never want to enter into your house. You're entering into your house through so-called media. It's not media. It's meet the devil, right? So, just like kids, they say, "Oh, tell me a scary story. Tell me a scary story. Tell me a scary story." So, if you close the lights and you start telling a scary story, they start screaming, "Ah!" So, there was a group of people in Seattle. It's about 10, 15 years ago. They're still there. They're called zombie rock. You ever hear of the zombie rock? No? Have you ever heard me speak about it before? Yeah, I've spoken about it. Anyway, zombie rock is like this. Kill! Murder! Death! That's their music. I'm not kidding you. So, there was a zombie rock concert in downtown Seattle. Look it up, zombie rock. I'm not making it up. And it's not really funny, because when you hear what happened, this happened in Seattle some years ago. It was crazy. So after the rock festival, this one guy said, well, let the party continue. So he invited people to his house. But he invited the weirdest people that were in the zombie rock program. So all these really weirdos went, and they had the music, death, murder, like that, right? That's their music, that's their culture, right? So there was this one guy who was very tall, and he looked really weird, and he was just standing around, and they were mostly kids like 15, 16, 14-year-old kids, and they have black military shoes on and black lipstick and tattoos and this thing and that thing, right? It's a whole culture. What does it say? You see zombie rock? Does it say anything?
Actually, there is an event in 2006 when the gunman went on rampage in Seattle.
Okay, well, that tall guy who was just hanging around, after listening to all the music, death, murder, and blood, he said, wait a second, so he goes out to his pickup truck, comes back with his gun, and says, now we'll have the real death. And he started shooting kids. How many kids did he kill? 6 kids.
And the party theme was made up to look at, the guests were made up to look as if they were dead, and the theme was better off undead. There were 20 people and he killed 6.
Yeah, you see? What do you expect if all night long you're saying death, murder, blood, right? That programs the brain to become violent. And this guy flipped out. He goes into his pickup, comes back with a gun, and starts killing these young kids. Now, when the parents were informed that their kids, and they were like kids, they were 14 years old, 15 years old. They were informed that there was a serious incident. They went to where the party was, which was in Capitol Hill. This is after the Zombie Rock Festival. And the police were holding everyone back. They couldn't go in. They couldn't find out who was alive, who was dead. And the newspaper man came up to one of the ladies, one of the mothers, who was really worried, if her kid was killed or not. And he said, "What are you thinking?" He said, "Well, I'm thinking that my kid is going to be grounded." It turned out her kid was dead. What does it mean, my kid's going to be grounded? That, she's not going to go out anymore. She's not going to be allowed to go to any of these parties. She should have thought of that before giving her permission to go to the Zombie Rock Festival. She should have found out, what is Zombie Rock all about? Does it explain what Zombie Rock is about? Just read whatever it says. Do you know anything about this? Do you ever hear anything like this? Yeah, that was a long time ago. Huh? Okay.
Yeah, so here it says there is a open critic, even there is a Rock Zombie, there is a movie, and then there is the Zombie Rock Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And then there is the Rock Zombie.
Does it explain what it is?
Zombie Rock World Tribute to.
All right. Anyway, you see, it's a culture.
Yeah.
That has clothing, that has its own music, its own beats, its own food, its own dress. And these young kids adopt it. And you'll see them in school, a kid comes and they're nicely dressed and everything, and all of a sudden they have, black lipstick, and they have army shoes on, black shoes, boots, and black clothing, and then they get tattoos, this thing, that. They completely change from being a normal kid to this zombie rock culture, right? And it's a whole culture, and they, instead of learning how to chant Hare Krishna, they're learning, kill, murder, blood, death, blah blah blah, and then the result is they actually experience it: the death, the blood, the murder. You see, this is extremely dangerous. But yet, it's going on in Seattle on many different levels. You have satanic clubs now. Satanic clubs where they worship Satan, not God. All these things are going on right under your nose, and you don't even realize it. So it's very important that we become conscious of all the what you would call deviances that are going on in this culture today, and really promote Krishna consciousness, which makes sense. This other stuff doesn't make sense. What, you keep saying death, murder, blood, that doesn't make sense, right? And it ends up you're actually experiencing those things. What we should be saying is Hare Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Mahaprabhu, Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki. That's what we should be meditating on, not this blood, death, murder, nonsense, right? So, if we just understand these 4 verses, 18th chapter, verse 57, 58, 59, and 60, you can what you would call reboot your understanding of what is real Krishna consciousness. Real Krishna consciousness is following Krishna's advice, and he says it here. But anyone who voluntarily engages himself or herself under the direction of the Supreme Lord becomes glorious. That's what we should meditate on. Okay, so I'll stop right there. Are there any questions?
I think like this. But I think in 1857, I just go back to it 1 second.
You're mumbling. Say something clear.
No, I'm just going back to the verse 1 second. So in 1858, I was just meditating on this sentence. A person in full Krishna consciousness is not unduly anxious about executing the duties of his existence.
That means taking care of your family, educating your kids, all those things, all those responsibilities. As well as, following the regulative principles, etc. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the next statement says, the foolish cannot understand this great freedom from all anxiety. So, I mean, we should not be feeling any anxiety. If we are feeling anxiety, that we're doing something wrong. Right now, for us, would you say that?
Well, for one who acts in Krishna consciousness, Lord Krishna becomes the most intimate friend. He always looks after his friend's comfort, and he gives himself to his friend, who is so devotedly engaged, working 24 hours a day to please the Lord. Therefore, no one should be carried away by the false ego of the bodily concept of life. Yeah, like no God, no master, zombie rock, this rock, that rock. They shouldn't be sidelined by those deviants. One should not falsely think himself independent of the laws of material nature, or free to act. He is already under strict material laws, but as soon as he acts in Krishna consciousness, he is liberated, free from the material perplexities. One should note very carefully that one who is not active in Krishna consciousness is losing himself or herself in the material whirlpool, in the ocean of birth and death. No conditioned soul actually knows what is to be done and what is not to be done. But a person who acts in Krishna consciousness is free to act because everything is prompted by Krishna from within and confirmed by the spiritual master without. So you have this internal guru, external guru. Internal guru, Krishna is Paramatma. External guru is Shastras, saints, and initiator, guru, and Shiksha and Diksha gurus. So there's gurus everywhere. And if we follow their instructions, there's not going to be any problem. And if we are not serious, we're like, no master, no God, then you're going to make a complete mess of everything you do in your life. Okay, we'll stop right there. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Yeah.
What do we do with the number of activities? Do we still keep 4 or do we?
Well, we could do the gummy drops and do cookies and do spices. That's it. Yeah.
I think because we saw even the number of participants, I think these 3 were the ones that attract most.
Yeah. You see, this is nonsense. Why why are they even asking us to go there? You know, it's a waste of time. They restricted before they had this children's pavilion. That was good. It was more free. You could do a lot of things, right? Now they call it the makers thing. They just want like one tent, one activity per tent, and you know it's pretty boring.
So we'll keep these 3 more.
Yeah. And look, I don't know if you get this fixed by tonight and bring it back to me so I can use it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Go ahead. Who's going to sing? Anybody want to sing? Yeah.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Keval Bhakti Sadma
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala
Bando Mui Savadhana Mate
Mandomui
Jahara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoye Jaha Hoye Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Kuriya Kya
Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya
Arna Kori Ho Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Ise Uttamang Gati जे प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान दिलो जे जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशितो प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते
प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाशा जाते वेद गाय जहरा चरितो वेद गाय जहरा चरितो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनारा बंधु लोकनाथ लोकेरा जीवाना हा हा प्रभु को दया देहो मोहे पद छाया हा हा प्रभु करो दया देहो मोहे पद छाया हे बेजाज खुशुक्ति भुवाना शीला प्रभुपाद पतित पवाना जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा जय गुरुदेवा नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमती भक्ति वेदांता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्त वृंदा Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shinitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Shri Nitaya Gaura Hari Bol. Jai, Jai.
Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanand. All glories to the Supreme, all glories to Samaveda, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material.
Surfing and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Yes. We wish to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental aesthetic prema emanates by him. Innocence destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the scene of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and the master of devotees. O Lokanath Goswami Master, be merciful unto me. The shade of your lotus feet on fame is spread all over the three worlds.